Mohamed Hamza. Welcome to the Star Coach Show.
Thank you very much for having me, Meg.
It is wonderful to spend this time with you. I appreciate you joining me at the end of your day. I'm sort of in the middle of my day over here. And I want everyone listening to understand my motivation for having you on the show. Because, you know, as coaches, we are in this place of wanting to determine how can we bring our best forward so that
Yeah.
we are partnering with our clients to really help them create the kinds of changes that they want in their lives. And you're a renowned authority on leadership assessments and development. You're a certified executive coach. You facilitate for organizations, you assess and give people feedback that helps them kind of grow into their greatness. And what I loved when I was approached about having you on the show is your global face. You are making impacts around the world in GCC, in Europe, in Africa. And I just love that. I just love it. And I just had to kind of like bring you forward, knowing that you work with people in this. I wanted to bring up one other thing as we were talking, but I've decided to kind of stick with what we talked. So you've coached over 3,000 leaders for from future talent to C-suites. And that's the other thing that I love, and that we're going to be able to have people dive into, because in many ways the coaching process is the same. And then in other ways, meeting people where they're at in that development process is super important as well. So I'm just like so looking forward to picking your brain. You currently serve as, I'm going to actually have you talk about your current position
Yeah,
at
sure.
Mercer Talent Enterprise, because I think that it's better to kind of get you to talk about what you love about what you do. So with no further ado, let's dive into this process that we're going to talk about in how can we be the most effective executive coach we can be. And for those of you who are listening who aren't executive coaches, it's okay. You want to stay anyway, because we are going to be talking about just how do we bring our best forward in this industry of coaching. So with that, welcome. And why don't you talk a little bit about what you're currently doing and what lights you up about what you're currently doing?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you very much for the kind introduction. I think it's the expectations of people will get really high, and thank you so much for this. Right. Um, what I'm doing currently, I'm a senior director in the Mercer Talent Enterprise, and what I'm doing is I'm responsible for the delivery of our services. Our services can vary from assessment, which is a very simple word for a very large, like an assortment of things that we do, and facilitation and coaching, leadership development, and other initiatives. So in general, I'm responsible for the delivery of our services. What lights me up is impact, definitely, right? Because I've been doing this for most of my life. Many people actually in this field, they shift into this field from other fields. I
Right.
started here.
Wow, that is
So it is,
unique. I love that
yeah,
perspective.
yeah, it is who I am. It's part of who I am. Uh, I don't want to say this publicly, but I think if I don't get paid for this, I will definitely do it for free. But I mean,
It'll be
it's
our
something that,
secret, just us and
yeah,
the thousands of people who are listening,
exactly,
but it'll be our
exactly,
secret.
exactly. So I'm really serious. So it's and I actually did this. So for facilitation, for coaching, for assessment, this is the stuff that I've been doing most of my life, and I live for this. I live for the impact that we can create. I really believe in this. I think that throughout the conversation, you will see how passionate I am about coaching, about leadership development, because I've seen the impact, I've seen the results. I've been so
Mhm.
lucky to see results, right? Because I've worked in projects that are long term, where I saw people develop. So it's this is actually what keeps me going, what ignites the passion and the motivation.
Excellent. So let's actually start a little bit different than what we had originally talked about, which is
Yeah.
because often coaching is a second or a third career. For
Mm.
me, I started as a psychotherapist. I was a psychotherapist for over 20 years before I thought, organizations need to be healthier. And how can I help organizations be healthier? So that was my motivation for sort of seeking out executive coaching and learning about it. You grew up in the field. So how did that occur for you? Like, what was the background that led into that? Because I think we need to hear more of those stories. So many of the stories are transitioning into coaching from something else. I'd love to kind of learn about how you grew up in the industry.
Yeah, it's really funny that you're asking this, Meg, because everybody's asking me about this now. So anytime I'm a guest on a podcast or
It's a
something,
hot
I
topic.
get I get the same question. I'll keep it short and simple because I think I've said this many times. Um, to be honest, it's always when you are on the receiving side that you get to appreciate this kind of domain, right? So when I attended a training about leadership, like really early in my career, which opened my eyes about this whole thing about leadership development, facilitation, coaching, everything. The first session, coaching session I got, it was mind blowing. It was really an eye opener for me. And I said, you know what? I definitely want to do this. I definitely want to do this. And I want to help other people the same way I was helped in this session. So it's like when you are in the receiving end, that's why I always advise everyone, if you want to become a coach, just try coaching first, become a client first, right? So try it and see what happens, right? See the kind of energy, see everything for yourself, to get this. If it's really passionate for you, if it's really interesting for you, you have the passion for it, then go for it and continue and learn and everything.
And I love that perspective because as we talk about how we become really effective in our trade, uh, that piece of feedback from you about become a client
Yeah.
is key to that. When I train coaches, when I talk to coaches, if you haven't experienced coaching through the lens of a client, you get such a different experience. When I go into organizations and help their leaders learn how to coach, I try to work as many experiential three partner situations so that you see coaching through the observer lens, you experience coaching through the coaching lens, and you
Yeah.
experience coaching through the client lens. And it's really all three of those that expand how to be effective, right? So I just love that you brought that up because that is part of our learning and growing. We got to sit in every chair, right?
Definitely, 100%. And even in the coach, because I deliver also coach training, in my coach training, the participants, future coaches, I ask them to try everything we do, like any technique we use, any game, exercise, anything that we do within the coaching session, we have to apply it first as clients. So the first thing to do is always, I'm the coach, you're the client, try this one. After you try this one on your own and be really like, do it really, then see if you want to do it or not with clients, because this gets you to believe in the whole
Right.
thing, in coaching and the exercises and in everything.
It's sort of like
Yeah.
that concept that we say, help somebody come up with their own answers. They'll be that much more motivated and bought into them. But until a coach really experiences what it's like to have their own answers kind of come up with
Yeah.
and like, oh yeah, that was so powerful. And then really trying it as a coach and seeing what transformation happens with the client. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's sort of theory, but until it becomes practice, it's like, oh, so when it becomes practice and we realize this really works, that's one of those steps towards being really effective. What else would you, let's like kind of lean into What do you believe to be true to really be effective as a coach?
Yeah.
What do we need to think about, engage with, whatever, wherever you want to go with that?
Yeah, I think that that was not the question, but the first part of the answer would have been what I just said, right? Like,
Mhm.
just try coaching first. If you believe in it, because if you don't believe in coaching, it's never going to work. If you just need it to become an additional income, it's fine, completely fine, right? Because it's something that you would invest time, effort, money in. It's fine, but you're never going to be a good coach unless you really believe in coaching, and you'll not believe in coaching unless you are a client first. So if you are a client, if you get coached a couple of times, then this is the right start. I think for anyone to become an effective coach, the first step is to try it and see if you believe in coaching. That's number one. Number two is like the normal stuff, right? I think that people, when you have talent, is good. When you have when you're a good speaker, when you're a good listener, when you have these talents, it's good, but it's not really about this. It's about uh, what you learn and how often do you practice.
Mm.
So if you, because it's a skill and requires a lot of practice, so you need to learn the right way from the right sources. Um, After learning, you have to practice a lot, because every time you practice, you'll notice something different. You'll get confidence. You'll understand, okay, so now I tried this, it works with me or not. Um, so try coaching, believe in it or not. But I mean, if you believe in it, then you start, then get trained, practice. And something very important for me, you have to learn who you are as a coach. So
Talk more about
some
that.
things, yeah. So some coaches, so I learned so many techniques and styles and exercises and methods in coaching. I believe in most of it because I've seen it work, but it's not all for me.
Mhm.
Some exercises doesn't match me as a person, as Hamza. It doesn't match
Doesn't
my
feel
style, my
authentic. Doesn't
personality.
feel, yeah.
I don't feel authentic. That's the point. So go with what, not everything you learn you have to apply. That's not how it works. What feels natural for you, you have to apply. You have to know who you are as a coach. So for example, I have some colleagues who would adopt the idea that I need to be challenging most of the times for my clients. I need to challenge them a lot because this is how I get results, and it works for them, and it's who they are. That's fine. For me, I think that what brings results to my clients is feeling safe. I don't think that I have to interfere much for you to get where you are. That's what and it works for me, right?
Mhm.
Definitely can
And it
challenge
works
you.
for that style is gonna
Yeah,
attract certain people that know that they're gonna grow and get results from that style.
exactly. Exactly. So know who you are as a coach. It's not, so after you get trained, after you get practice, after even you get certifications, because certifications are also very important. So after you get accredited and everything, know who you are as a coach. And last thing, know your clients. Because not everything that you believe works would work with every client. You need to get to know the client, understand the culture, understand everything. So that's 5 things. Like, you have to believe in coaching first, train, practice, know who you are, and know your clients. I think that these 5 things are the most important things for you to become an effective coach.
Love that. So kind of touching on a couple of those again, that
Yeah.
concept of um that concept of you got to get trained. How many of
Mm,
us have heard as professionally trained and certified coaches,
mm,
"Oh, I could just hang a shingle and be a coach because I'm like I'm good at things, or people like to talk to me, or,
Yeah,
that's maybe a beginning. However, that concept that you talked about getting good training, and then training is one thing, but practice is the only thing that's going to build that muscle. And until you've got a really solid muscle built, you're not able to be as flexible and in the moment with your clients, because in my experience, and I would love your feedback on this, the newer that we are as a coach, the more cookie cutter we're going to be. The kind of thing that we just like, this is what we know, so this is what we do. And to your point, the more you do, the more you learn about what works and what expands, because every client is unique and they need the approach that works best for them. And
yeah,
so it's as you practice and build your muscle, you're better able to meet your clients where they're at and provide what they need versus this is my approach. And that's
yeah,
what makes you more masterful as a coach.
yeah, definitely, definitely. And adding to what you said, I think that if you're not really trained as a coach or anything, but you're interested, and one of the reasons is that people come to you and tell you their secrets, maybe, or take your opinion or something like this. It's not coaching, but it gives you an indicator that you have something, right?
Right.
People trust you. They want to talk to you, which is good.
Good
And
place to
it's an
start.
indicator for you that yeah, it's a good place to
Mhm.
start, but you have to learn.
Yes, you have to learn. It's so, so good. So then we talked about the fact that we want to meet our clients where they're at and be respectful of their culture and their beliefs. And so being a global coach the way that you are, being in all these different cultures that you meet leaders and coach them in, what do you want people to, or what advice might you be able to give around being multicultural in your coaching?
Well, I think it's being multicultural. Again, it depends on your mindset in general, but I think it opens so many doors for you. So, because the more cultures you understand, the more you think, okay, so I didn't, what I knew about these people, is just what I got from the media, right?
Hmm.
Then once you meet the people, it's different. So again, I always say that people are people. They share so many things, same struggles or very similar struggles, similar goals, and so many things. Um, but culture is really different from one place to another. I give you a couple of examples. So
Hmm.
a colleague of mine did a research in our region in the Middle East, um, and he asked many questions. One of them was, "How often do you like to meet your coach?" In the US, I think the ICF published something. It was around a month or a month and a half, something like this. That was the intervals between coaching sessions. In our region, it was 1 week. Like, I
Okay.
want to see the coach every week.
Hmm.
You know, this gives you some indicators. Some of the some of the tools, the exercises that we use in that I learned, because I learned coaching in an American coaching school, and I also was trained in a British coaching school, right? The Academy of Executive Coaching. So, but I mean, I learned coaching in one school, in multiple, I mean, schools and schools of thoughts as well. But then when you get to practice, it's different,
Hmm.
because for some of the exercises I learned from the American coaching school can never be applied in the Middle East. It's not going to work with the
Interesting.
clients. It's not going to work with the clients. They are going to see it as some of it can be seen as like too personal, too friendly, uh, stuff like this. So I
It,
think understanding the culture and knowing
hmm
what to do with which client and what would work with this person, what would work with that person, I think this is really important. But I think the idea of being multicultural brings a big depth in general, and
hmm
brings also a lot of opportunities if we speak about business.
So that perspective of what I learned in a United States school I can take what worked, but I know that some of those things aren't going to work. And I'm curious if the British school, the things you learned in the British school, were more transferable to the Middle East. Just curious.
Hmm. I think they're all unique because I learned in three schools. I learned in New York-based coaching school, which is Gold Imagery Institute, the same school I teach in, and I learned in the Academy of Executive Coaching, that is British, and also Ashridge Hall. Ashridge is also a big coaching. They have a big coaching school.
And
So
they're located where?
in the UK.
Oh, in the UK. Okay, so two in the
Ashridge is
UK.
a university.
Okay.
So I think I think all in all, so the
Mm-hmm.
British ones, they focused a lot on the Gestalt.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So again, for people who are not really familiar with this, it's a really deep concept. It's really interesting, and I believe in it somehow, and I've seen it work. So they're leaning towards relational coaching, Gestalt, and
Yeah,
these
sort
kind
of
of
a therapeutic background, but in a coaching perspective, because so many of our coaching uh, foundations can be from a therapeutic but they're
exactly.
not therapy. It's just a therapeutic background that can be tweaked to coaching.
100%. And because psychology is really big in the UK, so I
Mm-hmm.
think this if influenced this. But I think in general, in the culture in the US or in the UK, they have more similarity than the culture in the Middle East. So the Middle East culture, I believe it's an amazing culture. It's mine, but I mean it differs from one country to another. I live in Saudi Arabia, and it's fascinating, the culture here. You
Mm-hmm.
can see it with your own eyes, and and I think it's really unique, especially in Saudi Arabia and in the GCC in general. It's really unique. You need to understand this culture. Once you understand it, it's like the light bulbs everywhere. Like, but it's once you understand it, it's really easy to get to work with clients and to achieve really big goals with them. But I mean, or big results with them. But if you don't understand the culture, you can really hit many walls.
A disconnect. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
couple things. First of all, you're not the first person who's told me that coaching is taking off in the Middle East.
yeah.
What do you think is the thing about the culture or about coaching itself, or what has created that synergy, do you think, that is making it begin to just take off?
Why is coaching working a lot
Yeah,
in the Middle
in
East? Yeah,
the
so many things.
Middle East.
First of all, I think especially because Middle East is big. If we speak about the
Hmm.
GCC specifically, I think that would be more specific. GCCs are the
Uh-huh.
Gulf countries.
Okay.
So for the GCC, the really young nations, Middle East in general, but specifically the GCC, really young nations, very ambitious. Currently, if you walk in the streets of Saudi Arabia or UAE, but I live in Saudi Arabia, so I speak about Saudi Arabia. If you walk on the street,
Okay.
everybody is really positive about what's happening in the country because like amazing things are happening. So the culture in general is really positive now, and the vibe
Hmm.
in general is really positive, and everybody wants to be better and do better and achieve goals, and because everyone saw already results happening on the ground, so it's a really good energy. This actually drove people to say, okay, what can we do what does the world have to offer for us to move forward, right? And to improve and so on, to achieve goals. So that's why they reach to everything, every possible like solution or
Hmm.
service or domain to help and support. And when people try coaching, that's what I believe in, right? Like when people try coaching anywhere in the world, when it's right, like coaching done right, good coaching, they see results and they say, you know what, we want more of this. So that's why I think everybody now believes in coaching. So you'll see huge organizations doing big leadership programs with coaching as part of the interventions.
That's really exciting. And you have mentioned the the word results numerous times in today's interview. And I think that makes a whole lot of sense, because we're talking about how to be an effective coach. And the way to be an effective executive coach is to help your clients get results. So when we think about the kinds of results that you help your clients achieve, first of all, let's keep looking through that multicultural lens. How different or the same do you find the kinds of results that clients are working toward to be impacted by the culture that they're living within?
Hmm. No, I think the culture has a huge impact on people in general. I think because I do a lot of coaching also in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Do a lot of work in Europe, in Switzerland and Germany, but mostly Switzerland. And but again, in Switzerland, I coach also people from all over the world. They're not only Swiss. But I think in general, the culture will affect you. And if we speak about results, I really don't see a difference. I
Okay.
don't see a difference. I don't see a difference between different culture, between different people, different cultures, because again, once you pass the first stage of culture understanding, I know
Mm-hmm.
what to do, what not to do with this person because of their culture. If you pass this and go speak with the person as a person, I think people are very similar.
And the kinds
So
of results that they're working toward.
yeah. So again, if we're speaking about results in general,
Right.
ambition in this region, in my region, is much more, right?
Okay.
Because
Mm-hmm.
it's growing and it's not
Right.
really stabilized yet. So if you speak about Switzerland, for example, Switzerland, I mean, it's a really developed country, and I think the last word they had was like the 19th century or something, and it was like it's a really developed country, right? So when there are no like huge jumps, there is nothing like this anymore. Developments, there are developments, obviously, but I mean, there are not like huge jumps. But if you look at Saudi Arabia and the jumps that's happening in the country, it's like
Mm-hmm.
mind blowing. So definitely the energy is different. Still very positive, the energy in Switzerland, but I mean, it's not similar. And the level of expectations here in the region, in the GCC,
Mm-hmm.
is much higher from everything, right? So so yeah, so results, yes, I would see that people are seeking results harder. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, in
So they
general, if
might
you
be
speak
more
about,
ambitious and more of a drive.
yeah,
But
generally,
ultimately, as an executive coach, what
yeah,
would you say are the kinds of results that your clients are working toward? What are some of the things that
yeah.
you help your clients achieve?
Yeah. So when you say executive coaching, you'll always expect that, okay, I want to work on the strategy and I want to do this and I want, but then in reality, it's like the basic stuff and the and very normal stuff. Yes, yes, you work on strategies, and yes, you need to take tough decisions. Yes, that's big part of the coaching, but then it always goes back to relationships, dealing with your own thoughts and emotions, handling your own issues, putting goals and reflecting on your life in general, right? So many people come to me and say, you know what, I've been really successful for so many years, and I thought that this is what I want, but this is not what I want. Success was I don't know. It didn't actually. It was a fake, fake happiness for me. You know, just it made me think that I'm on the right path, but no. So that's something that I hear that it's really common these days, especially for from senior executives, that I work too hard, achieved so many things work wise, but that's it. And if I go back again, I would not do the same. I would do it differently. And this is actually, it always tells me that people have to do this really early in their lives. Don't wait until you're really old to get coaching, because, again, it's much better if you have an opportunity to pause and reflect much earlier in your life,
Right.
and then decide what you want to do.
So that
So yeah.
transformation coming earlier will allow you to potentially make life-changing decisions that are much harder to do when you're later in life in a position that is not easy to just walk away from.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So good. I mean, we could just go on and on because you are such a wealth of information.
Thank you very much, man.
One of the things that came up for me while you were, I know I told you during our exploratory call that I swear sometimes I see a hand go up in my head with like, ask this question or ask more about this. So this is the question that came up for me when you were sharing. So tell me if if you want to take it on or not.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Mike, the question that bubbled up for me was, when a client is sponsored by their organization,
Hmm.
often that organization has expectations of what they want. Now, I am going to kind of give the caveat that I understand the higher up in an organization that a person is, really, in some ways, they've got more ability to choose what they want to do their coaching on and
Hmm.
be more transformational. So somebody who's being sort of managed in their coaching and this is what we want them to work on. Yet it's my belief that that person might, if we don't deal with those issues below the issues, things like you talked about, relationships, confidence, the beliefs that we have, the stories we're telling ourselves, all those kinds of things. And yet, so this is where that hand went up because I know my students would say, but how do I navigate that with an organization if they're saying you need to coach on this performance XYZ, but really there's deeper issues that would benefit the client to coach on. So now I'm
Hmm.
throwing it to you. What do you want to do with that
No,
question?
that is a really good question, Meg, and it comes from experience, and that's good because um, before we faced this challenge more because people actually thought of coaching in a really systematic way, engineering way, like this person comes here and then you gets coach and then he's better now and then he moves this way. It doesn't work this way, right? So um, coaching only works when people want to talk about something. So I want to, as a client, I want to talk about something and I want to achieve something out of it. Otherwise, it's not going to work. What happens over time is that people, I mean, people meaning the sponsors in the organizations, let's say the HR department or something like this, they now know and they have the awareness more, not everyone, but I mean, people have more awareness now than before that this is how coaching works.
Mhm.
So I'm not going to interfere. So they say, yeah, please keep it professional, right? I don't want you
Right.
to keep talking about personal stuff all the time. But
Mhm.
then everything is connected. So I understand this. So it's fine. And one of my clients actually once told me, you know what? If one of the participants of this program want to leave the organization, I think it's better for them to do so. So you help them either way.
Right.
So because if they're leaving anyway. And if they're leaving, then their mind is not in the right place.
Right.
So the idea of, if you really believe in coaching, if you really believe that it would bring results, you have to do it the way it should be done, which is you shouldn't interfere. So to be honest, now most of our um, like engagements are like this. People, the sponsors would only ask about, okay, so what are the general themes that you can see? What kind of goals? Is there any progress? Are they attending the coaching sessions? And that's it, because
Mhm.
they know that it's personal. They know that it has to be confidential, and if we don't do it this way, it's not going to work.
Thank you for that. Thank you for sort of reinforcing. My belief is, I'm going to go on a little soapbox here for a second. My belief that is, as professional coaches and in organizations like yours that are reaching out and working within, across the world, and for all of us who are taking our work out there, we have to believe in what we do to a place of being willing to stand up for what we do and stand up for the value that it brings, and that the bigger picture is not necessarily X and Y and Z. It is intricate process that works if we trust it. And we've got to be willing to kind of advocate for it. So thank you for that.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I agree. And I think it's our role to always speak about this and raise the awareness about this.
Yes. So good. Okay. So our time is running out, and I'm just wondering if there's anything that you would really wanted us to lean into before we closed our time out today.
I think that the conversation was flowing really well, Meg. And you know what? When we speak about this, because we both have really a great passion about coaching, so I don't think any time will be enough for us to continue the conversation. But I think I think it was good and it covered so many things, and I hope it's useful for people. But I would, if just one thing comes to anyone who's listening, just try coaching once and see if you believe in this, if and let it go. Just when you try it, just be all in, no reservations, no, don't be a conservative client, just open up. This is how it works.
Just love that. So, as I think all of you listening know, we could get so much more information because you are such a plethora of experience, and I appreciate your generosity in sharing. If you want to know more about Hamza and the work that he does, we're going to have links to connect with him both in the show notes, and if you're listening to this or watching us on YouTube, then grab those links right below this video. Our conversation is going to continue in the Star Coach community. If you want to know more about the community, how you can be supported and really thrive as a coach, go to starcoachshow.com/community. Remember that each and every week, we explore strategies, tools, and resources for coaches and leaders to be the best they can be. We bring incredible guests like this forward so that you can
Thank you very much.
expand your thinking and build those muscles and really apply. I think both of us really want you to go forward and apply what you heard in today's session so that you can be that much more effective as a coach. So until next week, this is Meg Rentschler wishing you the very best. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others. We're all connected. We're all here on the planet doing it together. So let's be respectful of one another. Have a great week.